now there's so much latitude with what a non-alc brand can do in distribution. There's a ton of different options, and you have to really think forward, 10, 20 years, like, are you going to be acquired? You have to really think all this stuff through at this early stage.
What's up, y'all? I'm Jason from Who's My Rep, and today we have April Wachtel from Cheeky Cocktails, Cheeky Cocktail Mixers. And April, I've always just been a huge fan of yours because you are a master of the sport of entrepreneurship. You seem to have this relentless drive and an incredible ability to solve problems. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. I mean, master is an aggressive word, but I will take it, and I will thank you for it. So thank you.
But there's a few people that I watch very closely on like LinkedIn, for instance, and what I love about what you're putting out there is that not only are you keenly a keen student of the sport of entrepreneurship, but you're also very good at distributing your efforts into things that are developments that are indicators of a well-lived life. Like, you cultivate hobbies, you spend time with friends, and you don't see that a lot with people that are accomplishing things like you're accomplishing. So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, thanks so much. And again, I know that you do that as well. And just, before we get into things, just to speak to, Who's My Rep and the Supplier Summit, as I mentioned, I'm really excited for you. I think this is going to fill a need. Obviously, you're figuring out exactly which pieces of it are the most valuable, but I think there's clearly like a lot of support from the industry, and I think that people want to know how do we better connect better. So anyway, so I'm super excited about everything you're working on. I would say, I feel like entrepreneurs can sometimes come off as being like complainy, like we're like, oh, I elected to do this thing, and all of a sudden, like, woe is me, like life is so hard. But I do think it's about figuring out, like, if you are the one person or one of a couple people who's driving an idea forward, what increases your chances of success and what decreases your chances of success. And from my perspective, I know that there's people who can work 24/7, they sleep like 4 hours a night, and that's like their sweet spot. That's how they thrive. That's not the case for me. And I know that, the times where I've performed the worst, and I think this goes for like professional athletes as well, or just competitive athletes as well, is like the times that I perform the best are when I feel like I'm living a whole life in all pieces of my life. And again, there's always there's compromises, obviously, but I do think it's really important it's not to be three-dimensional or to avoid being one-dimensional, simply to be well-rounded. But I do think, having diverse interests and having strong relationships, whether it be, friends and family, or whether it be like within the industry, I do think personally that's critical for me for long-term success.
Mm-hmm. You're a very deep thinker. You seem to be very very intense about the decisions that you make and why you make them. Where does that come from, and how does it serve you?
I don't know. I think I just always had an interest in how people think and how people live and how people interact with each other. Connection, I think, has been something I knew from my early days. Like, I started working in restaurants when I was 13, and that enabled a specific type of connection and specific type of interaction that I was able to have, with different generations, that previously I was just around my like little tween friends, right? And so I think from an early age, it's been something I've been interested in. I've gone through, I went to school for psychology. I went back to school for design, and was really interested in ergonomics and, how people interact with objects. Then it was about dispute resolution. And I think all of these themes, it's about, again, the interrelatedness of our world. So I don't really know. I can't really pinpoint what it is, but I would say that entrepreneurship, and I think you probably had this experience as well, it enables me to kind of touch all aspects of my interests, because we have products or we have services that do or do not resonate with a consumer base, and being able to get that feedback from the consumer and then act on it feels very rewarding.
So where's Cheeky at now? And what do you see the trajectory of where Cheeky's going?
Yeah. So we launched, some people know I had a different business before Cheeky that was kind of like trickled into the beginning of Cheeky, but Cheeky as we know it launched in March, April of 2020. So it was the first wave of the pandemic as it hit New York City. So we've now been around, God, it's almost 3 years, like 2.5 years. What I'm trying to do right now is we're trying to open between 1 and 3 markets with spirits distributors this fall. Now, anybody in the industry, people who are listening to this, watching this, will know that O&D is the busiest time of year. And so we have a really short window to do that. We have 1 market that is confirmed, and there's 2 others that I'm obviously working on right now. I think this is going to be a huge inflection point in the business. And I think, just a little bit of a digression, I have this conversation with entrepreneurs all the time, which is, it's amazing how long this stuff takes. And it's amazing how much longer it takes than I thought. Like, I thought we would have been absolutely, crushing it, like tens of millions of dollars in revenue by year 3. That is so not how this works. And it's honestly, it's fine. It's a great learning experience. But, ultimately, the longer that I do this, the more I want to be focused on building a product and a brand that people enjoy, love, and it really meets a need, and one that is not just a flash in the pan, that it's going to be enduring. And that's something, again, I've spent several years, recent years, learning about how different types of capital affect the growth of a business. And that's one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about recently, which is, how do you grow quick enough to be, like, quote unquote relevant, or to preempt the competitive set, preempt sort of copycats, but slowly enough such that you don't either put yourself out of business or just grow kind of fat and weak. Like, you want to grow strong and you want to have longevity. So anyway, so I think the ultimate objective is have an amazing brand and product that people love. I do have some, aspirations around scale. Like, I want to be a well-known legacy brand. I think having my sights set on the US specifically is still large enough to be relevant. It doesn't have to be a global brand. But I want to build something that's like, that people love and helps, I think, both consumers and trade.
What are some of the characteristics of a new joint venture or distributor partner would you look for? Or, I mean, I guess you're not looking for a JV, but you're looking for distribution partners right now, right?
Yeah.
What would they bring to the table ideally?
Well, this is such an interesting question, because right now there's so much latitude with what a non-alc brand can do in distribution. There's a ton of different options, and you have to really think forward, 10, 20 years, like, are you going to be acquired? You have to really think all this stuff through at this early stage. So, I mean, obviously a professional partnership. We know, being on the on-premise side, that it's easier to open doors if the distributor has a large footprint, right? They've got enough accounts that the accounts already have already ordered from that distributor, right? So going back several years, I worked for a small spirits brand, and every time I got a new placement, I literally had to have the account fill out a credit app just for our product, which is just so much heavy. It was insane. So, that's something else I have to be conscious of. We have a lot of potential brand partnerships that I'd like to bring down, not just in a single market at the retailer and bar or restaurant level, but I think in a regional or national capacity as well. And so that's another consideration, is like, who are the right partners who have distribution in multiple states, but are also small enough or willing enough to work with a small brand to scale, because you can also really easily get lost within a large distributor. So there's no easy answer to that question, and it's something I'm really mulling over right now.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
So your talk at the Supplier Summit, is be the change that you want to see in the world. So
Yes.
Would you characterize Cheeky as a mission-driven brand?
Again, I gotta be honest, I'm a little funny about these things. Like, I'm a woman, I'm a minority, like, I'm, API, but I don't kind of like speak about these things that often. And I've got to take a step back and figure out why that is. I think I feel a little bit precious about the like term mission driven. Like, I don't want it to just sound like a soundbite. I mean, I would say that a huge part of why I do everything I do, both with Cheeky as well as with Movers and Shakers, my podcast, is because, we're in an industry where there's a very low barrier of entry. So you can get in, you can be an immigrant, you can do this undocumented, et cetera. But it's really hard to eke out a living. It's really hard to build like, I don't even know if the concept of generational wealth is like known in any way within people in our industry. And so I think showing that it can be done, showing that you can take little sort of nuggets of expertise, or just by working your way up from like busboy or busgirl to dishwasher to blah, 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 to general manager to ownership of something, it is very important to me to show that it can be done. And yes, it requires a ton of hard work and networking and like and all of these things, but it can be done. So I wouldn't characterize this as mission driven, but I do, to my core, want to show that just because you don't have, you know, generational wealth coming into this, or just because maybe you don't have like a fancy college degree, it does not mean that you can't build something of huge value and use your street smarts and build something just amazing. So
Okay. So,
yeah.
labels notwithstanding, how do you see Cheeky positively impacting the world?
It's a couple of things. So one is, and we saw this very much so during the pandemic, and everybody in our industry knows this, is you know, people don't just need like food and shelter, right? You need connection with other people. And so seeing the thousands and thousands and thousands of gift notes that people have, you know, put in the kits that we send has felt really rewarding. It's people are trying to connect with somebody across a very long distance and say, hey, I'm thinking of you. So I think that's one way. Another way is, you know, and again, I don't talk about this that much, but in the on-premise, those of us who are in cocktails, you want to serve something beautiful, and you ideally want to serve it, you know, get the drink to the person within 30 minutes. Like, we know those cocktail bars that it's like, you've got to order like a, whatever, like a shot before you get your cocktail, because it takes so freaking long. So I think it can be really helpful in terms of improving some of those efficiencies in the on-premise as well, because making all of these ingredients from scratch, individually from scratch, is a huge time suck, requires a prep team that knows what they're doing. And I think if we can help people just streamline their operations a little bit, I think that will also be useful. And also, hopefully, people will make more money as a result.
I think so too. I think what you're doing is like democratizing the mixology, like the temples of mixology that we kind of understand. Like, I know that you're not like, I'm not trying to reposition your brand, but it's
No.
like what we understand to be fancy cocktails as the rule may not exist in other places. And I feel like what you're doing is making it easier for people to have a much better experience at a lower cost, that's faster, and I think that is a positive impact. So
thank you. Yeah, that's the hope. You know, we have a lot of work to do before I can say that we've gotten there, but yeah, that's the hope. Is it's just, you know, bartenders want to serve great drinks, and you know, consumers want to drink those great drinks, and if we could make that easier kind of for both parties, that would be awesome.
Okay, well, that's all I got for you. Is there anything else that you wanted to share?
No, I think that's it. I really appreciate your time, and I'm so psyched for you and for Who's My Rep and the Supplier Summit. So really excited to see all the other seminars.
Thank you so much for your time, April. Appreciate it.
You got it. Okay, talk soon.